More reaction now from Capitol Hill. Joining us now is Senator Chris Coons, Democrat of Delaware and member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Coons, first of all, what's your reaction to Comey's firing?
This was a simply stunning development, Anderson, not just because of the timing, but also because of the justification. It's striking to me that the Attorney General, who had recused himself from involvement in the investigation into possible collusion between the Trump campaign, the Trump administration, and Russia, had a direct role, had a hand in this decision to fire the FBI director, the director who's responsible for oversight of the agency that we recently learned is conducting an ongoing investigation into that exact matter. So it is striking, and I think this deserves unique focus and attention in a bipartisan way in Congress in the coming days.
The White House's rationale is saying that he lost the confidence of the president, and the reason that they're citing in this letter from the Deputy Attorney General largely is how he handled the Clinton email investigation. Does that, and that's the argument that Kellyanne Conway was on just now, trying to push. Does that make sense to you, considering the fact that as a candidate, Donald Trump was praising repeatedly Comey's handling of it during the campaign?
Anderson, that's exactly why this is hard to square with reality. The Trump administration has been in place for 6 months now. There's no new developments here. His handling of the Clinton email issue was questioned, was criticized by many at the time, but that's not a new or recent development, and it doesn't seem as if it is a full justification of why President Trump would take this action at this time. Just in the last few days, we've had concerning testimony from Sally Yates, the fired former acting attorney general, that suggests more going on with the National Security Advisor, General Flynn, than was previously understood. And my concern is that we now have to take strong action to ensure that the American people can be confident that the FBI is capable of an independent investigation into this topic, that the Senate Intelligence Committee remains capable of an independent and effective investigation into this topic. And it may well be time for us to have a special counsel appointed so that there is more confidence in the independence of the investigation that is not yet concluded.
The president and Kellyanne Conway keep saying that this is about restoring confidence in the FBI. Does the firing of the FBI director, who's leading the investigation into the White House, by that White House, the firing of him by that White House, does that restore confidence?
Not at all. And in fact, the way the firing was done was particularly striking. Director Comey is a respected career, a law enforcement official, a public servant, and he was fired essentially through the press. He found out that he had been fired while he was speaking to FBI personnel in Los Angeles, and there were press reports that a letter had been delivered to the FBI headquarters. That's about as brazen and aggressive a way as you can fire somebody. And as you just referenced in the previous segment here, Anderson, President Trump's letter saying, you have told me 3 times I'm not under investigation, just seems to protest too much the idea that there is nothing going on here other than sort of clearing the decks. And I'll remind you, FBI Director Comey is just in the 3rd year of his 10-year term. If this really was the reason for his firing, why wasn't he fired in the first few days of the Trump administration?
So what happens now? I mean, you know, Democrats can wring their hands about and say there should be a special prosecutor, but how does that actually happen unless it's from the Department of Justice, you know, from Rod Rosenstein?
That's the core challenge that we face. As I understand it, Anderson, under existing statute, a special counsel could be appointed by the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. That will require Republicans to stand up and say, as well as Democrats, that we have real concerns, that we think we have to do more to restore independence to this investigation, and to express concerns. So far, we've heard from the Republican chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who's expressed some of those exact concerns, and a few other senior Republicans. But frankly, it's my hope that in the interest of restoring the rule of law, in the interest of restoring public confidence and the respect for the United States internationally as a country where there is a separation between partisan politics and the FBI and the Department of Justice, that this important step will be taken.
Why should people who are watching at home have confidence in the continued investigation into getting to the bottom of what happened with Russia's interference with the election? I mean, at this moment in time, why should people have confidence?
Well, I think there's a lot that has to be done to restore and ensure that confidence. I'll remind you that the escapade with Congressman Devin Nunes on the House Intelligence Committee really set that investigation off track, really took them off track for a number of weeks, but they've now reconstituted themselves. I'm optimistic that the Senate Intelligence Committee continues to operate in a bipartisan way and that there are Republicans and Democrats on that committee willing to stand up to the president and willing to issue subpoenas if necessary and required, and that they've got the staff and the determination to get to the bottom of it. As for the FBI, I think that's going to take some work, and I think it's going to require the career professionals who run the investigation and the current leadership of the Department of Justice, most principally Rod Rosenstein, to step forward and take strong action to restore that confidence in the independence of the investigation.